Call her. You're in the room.
And she told this story about somebody who, I don't know if they were in hospice, but they were kind of at end of life cycle.
Yeah.
And what you did. So you're a Reiki practitioner. Mm-hmm. Before you tell that story, what is it that you were helping them with in terms of using Reiki as a service?
So I was helping. Technically, they called me in to do Reiki for this person because they knew that she was struggling. And what struggling meant was she was having the symptoms of them believing that she was going to die soon.
Yeah.
Because, they're on hospice, right? But then sometimes it's like, oh, it's fake. As in like, no, they just did get sick and now they're better.
Right.
But the people at the company that knows what I do beyond Reiki was just like, oh, Robert, you're here. Because I stopped by their office and they're like, you got to go over there because she needs help. He needs help. The son needed help.
Like you're super raw.
Like they're like, can you go and see if she's leaving, you know?
Yeah. It's
like, where's she at?
So nonchalant.
Yeah,
Did you
and
see
I was
she's leaving?
like, oh shoot. Yeah, so if she's leaving, and I was like, okay, sure. And it was down the street, and I was like, I wasn't really going to do anything. I was going to go to the library.
Right.
And I called, we set it up for the next day, and the patient was like incoherent, you know, but even though they could always come back. You could go into hospice and come out of hospice.
Yes, you can.
And I was there to just relax her body. Well, quote unquote, do Reiki for her, but people in office wanted me to see where she was at in her timeline.
Yeah.
And kind of give them some insight on that because they didn't know what to do. Push her with some meds and kind of like help her through that transition or just kind of be patient.
Right.
Right? Because everyone's at this point in the family is kind of like, oh my God, you got to be here. Like,
Yeah.
mama's going, grandma's leaving. Like,
Yeah.
where you at? Everyone's panicking. Or do they have time to kind of like be at ease and buy that plane ticket, go get some dinner, or do we got to be in the room now?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening whenever you went?
Okay, you guys want to know the story now? Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a good. I'm just telling you now. It's a good one. Like, hold on to it's a good one.
And there's so many.
I was sitting right
stories
where
like
George is, and my jaw was on the floor. I was like, wait, hold on, for real? I was like, damn. Sorry, I won't interrupt you anymore.
No, it's okay. I mean, there's so many pretty cool fucking stories, but since you heard this one, I'll tell this one. So went in there and I was like, okay, well, on the way to the client's house, being a channeler naturally, I can feel things in advance.
Yes.
It's a blessing and a damn curse, you know? And I try not to understand it. So on the way there, I'm feeling some things and I'm like, ooh, well, I could feel my chest being so kind of hollow in my breathing and it's heavy. And I'm like, oh, she's dying, you know?
Yeah.
But I try not to think of it, try to Control-Alt-Delete my head, get there. The son opens the door and I realize, oh, there's a lot of everything I was feeling was also him. So I know now, okay, I'm here to give him a session, but at the same time, where's the mom at? You know? Went into the room, the mom was there. And I told him how it works. But him also understanding who I was a little bit prior to going there, I was like, okay, I could do this in all the many ways. But now that I know that it's you, would you like me to give her Reiki and just kind of do the Reiki thing? Or do you want me to see where her soul's at and talk to her from the other side? And I was like, because she's here, I get that, but half of her is already on the other side.
Yes.
So do you want me to see what's up? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, before I touch bases with her, then, because to read deeper, I got to touch the body, but I also can read beyond touching the body, right?
You did it to me the other day, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Oh, your back pain?
Yeah, she was like, why is your back in pain? And I'm like, what, excuse you?
I was like, you're hurting my back. Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. So I told him, okay, so on the way here, I was hearing her already. She's still here. She's still breathing, but parts of her over there. And I was hearing that she wants to go, but she's worried about you. So what's holding her here was her son's worries and concerns and just all of his human fucking icky emotions.
Yeah.
It was like tethered to her. And she was just like, I really want to go. But then, of course, her wanting to go, why aren't you going?
Right.
Right? Soul body wise, why aren't you going? But your body is still right here. It looks like you're ready to go. So that's why they're like, so what is it? Like, what's up, rah, rah? So connected with her body. And I do this thing where I multidimensionally work. And I call on the name of the person. And they start to show up in a different place. And her ass was gardening.
Oh, really?
She was gardening.
Gardening?
Yeah. And I, let's just call her Stacy. Okay. So I was like, Stacy. And I'm like in that world with her. And she has that, I I think it's a hoe.
Yeah, like a hoe or like,
kind of like a hoe, but the one with the pointy thing at the
yeah,
end.
like she's, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was just almost like making a hole. And I was like, Stacy, can you stop? And she's like, no. And then I was like, oh, but the point of me multidimensionally looking in this other place is to see what they're doing inside. All of these places that I can see within the body is affecting the outside body, right? So while I'm reading her hoeing, hoeing the garden, I was like, okay, I could see, first of all, she's avoiding this conversation.
Yes.
So ding right there.
Right.
One emotion is avoiding.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm confused because you wanted to go and now all of a sudden this version of you inside looks like she's avoiding the damn topic of the reality. And I was like, okay, she's not really going to listen to me. So I was like, I have a plan B. I opened my eyes and her son was like to the left of me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to need your help because what I'm seeing is that she's avoiding something inside. And that avoidance is making her suffer, hence her physical body suffer, right? So I call her son. I was like, okay, hold her hand. So I get him to connect to her. And then I hold his shoulder. And I was like, okay, I'm going to bring your spirit into her body and we're going to communicate in this same world. And very multidimensional here. So I closed my eyes, connected with her again, held her shoulder while I'm holding his shoulder. And I kind of just wait for this energetic integration until I see his spirit body pop up in that world. And then she sees his ass pop up before I do. And she goes, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, she doesn't like this. And then he was like, Mom. But he's quiet right here. But he's like, Mom, you got to listen to her. Because we're kind of, while we're talking in there too, we're also telepathically talking. Like so many things are happening at the same time. And I was like, yeah, you kind of got to listen to me because we're just trying to help you.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so I have your son here and he's okay. You know, I was like, you got to look at him. And I was like, look at him. She puts the hoe down and she's just like, what? Like, why did you come here? And then I kind of interfere through their little conversation that I couldn't really hear. I just knew their mouths were moving. And I was like, you need to relax. As in, he's trying to take care of you, but you're not letting him. And I was like, you don't even understand what you're doing to your body and you need help right now. And she was just like, what's wrong with my body? And I was just like, you're suffering. And I was like, and we're just trying to help you because we know that you're hurting somewhere. I was like, so you have to just stop avoiding whatever you think you're avoiding because we're all just here to help you. And transitions happen very quick in time and space because it's very much an illusion. And she goes, okay, fine. And then next thing you know, there was no more garden and she's walking to a dinner table and I'm like, okay, cool. She's accepting whatever we need her to accept, but she's kind of still a little like annoyed about it.
Sassy.
Yeah, she's sassy about it. And I was like, okay, well, just me being me in that world. I was like, well, okay, well then let's kind of like have a party. Like while you're here, let's just kind of hang out. And I don't know, what do you want to do? And she was like, can we just have a nice dinner? And I was like, okay, dinner.
Sis was so irritated.
Yeah. And I was like,
So
okay.
bothered by you being there.
Yeah, she was like, oh, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
But I was like, okay, dinner it is. And then next thing you know, boom, a dinner table, kind of like this pops up, but it's like smaller. And her son's like, okay, I'm going to make you this, like all your favorite things. He's just nurturing her in that world now. And she sits, and then I pull up a chair and I sit, and we're just kind of sitting in front of each other. And I kind of wait for her body to get to this different energetic place. And I go, okay, Stacy. And she goes, yes. And I go, you know what's next. And she goes, mm-hmm. And I go, so you have to choose.
Yeah.
And she goes, what do I need to choose? And I go, you need to choose a day to go. And time and space, again, is an illusion up there. And right when I told her you need to choose a day to go, she goes, 28. Like with that face
What an
and all.
attitude.
Yeah, she goes, 28. And I was like, 28? And then I was like, okay, well, she's in a good place. She did all that she needed to do in here. I feel that she's going to allow herself to stay in that energetic position. I opened my eyes. I told the son, okay, you could let go now. Like, go sit the fuck down because we're about to talk about this.
Right.
And I told him everything. And he's like, that sounds exactly like her. That's exactly how she spoke. And I was like, did she garden? He's like, I don't really know, but maybe she did back then, right? Or maybe that's how she was finding peace in that world. And I told him about the number 28, but to keep it very broad. So Fast forward the day when I was telling the story on my show, she passed that day.
Like right after you were done here?
Literally, when I left, I felt like that story wasn't leaving my body. So there's a reason why your body holds on to thoughts and things. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, I hope you're doing okay. How's mom doing? And he was like, oh, thank you, sweet girl, for connecting back, but mom passed. And then he goes, and I realized 28 is the day she was born. And I was like, oh, so that number, it wasn't the day she was going. It was just her confirming it was her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She says this, and I'm just sitting there like,
Right.
and I'm engineering. I'm not even on the show. I'm just
You'll
recording.
give him a heart attack. You tell me something, I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, what? Because
Yeah. So her transitioning that next day, it's like, right? It's hard to tell though, because it's like, I mean, to people outside, I'm like, damn, I fucking helped her let go, and she died the next fucking day.
What did I do?
And I'm like, fuck.
Oh, this was the next day.
Yeah, it was the next
shit.
day. That's how I was telling the story, because it's all fresh and new.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and then I realized, because I do a lot of volunteer work for this hospice company, because their model is to be holistic. And yeah, it's beautiful. And then I realized after like so many holistic patients, I'm like, yo, they're dying after. And I'm like, am I helping them cross the fuck over?
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, because helping people when they're alive is I am helping them let go of things to be their most authentic, raw self. But then when it comes to people passing, they're holding on. I'm helping them let go so they can go.
Yeah.
What if they just slap you with like 30 homicide charges
Right,
or something?
it's
They're
like,
like, we can't explain this in
Don't feel
court.
like a serial killer,
Not
sis.
gonna lie, I thought about that the last hospice client I did, and I was like, maybe I should tell blah 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 at the office I shouldn't do this, because they're just gonna start dropping like birds.
Well, death, like you said, is an illusion, right? And a lot of people, they hold on because they're worried about how is it gonna affect the people that are still here.
And it's crazy because I've learned from people who have died that why they hold on so long is because of the emotions of the people so worried. It's not even them. They're just trying to cater to the ones that are alive.
Yeah.
But they don't realize how they can't. But then the people that are alive, like the family that's fighting, that's why they can't go. So a lot of times the dead people or the people that are crossing over, they're like, can you please tell them to stop crying?
Yeah.
But who are we to tell someone like, hey, she said stop crying and they're grieving.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't tell me how to live.
Right. Don't tell me how to
You
grieve.
don't know what I just went through.
Right.
Caller, you're in the room.
Hello.
Hello.